Call the meeting to order. I don't think we have to pledge again since we've already
Okay,
got
we already
it. So
pledged.
we'll do agenda.
All right.
We pledged once already today. So. John.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Mark.
Here.
Stephanie.
Here.
Dale's here. We get approval of the agenda.
I think we need to add the County Road 2 culvert.
Yeah,
right?
a few souls here, yeah.
Okay.
So, Pickerel Drain / County
Yeah.
Road 2 culvert.
Okay, we'll add that after
Yeah, put that in.
the policing, or when, after Wayne.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of,
Motion by Scott to approve the agenda with the addition of the County Road 2.
Would you add that on the road superintendent, you said?
Yeah, underneath.
Underneath
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's see, Wayne isn't here yet.
I'll second that.
Motion by Stephanie to second the agenda. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Barring none, proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You guys want to look over the May 5th meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the May 5th meetings and dispense with the reading.
Motion by Scott to approve the May 5th meeting minutes and dispense with reading. Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we'll look over the vouchers for this period.
There are two dues in here, one for the state's attorney and one for the superintendent of schools. You guys usually don't approve the superintendent of schools, but
Who asks for it?
it's just one that we always get, so I present it to
Oh,
you.
so nobody's asking for this?
No, I'm the superintendent of schools, but I don't go to it or anything, but it's just one that they
So
request
you
that
don't want it?
I don't use it.
Is there a reason we have a superintendent of schools at the county level anymore?
So we have superintendent of schools designee, it's actually statutorily required. Superintendent of schools designee, in places where the schools don't do the school bus driver training, they do that. They're also supposed to help out or can help out with spelling bee, math counts. And they're.
Have you ever done
and-
any of this then?
And they're the record, they're
No.
the record keeper for the school as well, they keep the graduation
I do those.
records.
Oh.
If
and
people
That's statutorily required.
Okay.
So it's not that we're doing it and she's doing it just because she can do it, it's actually, the county is required to have either a superintendent of schools or a superintendent of schools designee.
And I have a form that says like, okay, the schools are responsible for the spelling bees, the bus driver things, and then I'm in charge of the records and stuff. So it
And if there was some
But-
redistricting, then.
Yeah,
they're
then, yeah,
involved
the
in that.
redistricting and that, I have participated in that once in Nelson County, so it does happen on occasion, but it is actually required by law to do it.
What's the story with the workers' comp?
So your workers' comp. So in the beginning of the year, we get a voucher that, or a bill, but it's an estimate of what it's going to be, and then we pay that out of general. And then when I get the breakout of what it's actually going to be, then I go and I take it out of everybody's individual budgets.
Okay,
And then it got to be that it wasn't what we had initially paid, so we actually got a $30,000 credit back. So that's just breaking it out into its individual.
we got a $3,000 credit back.
Mhm.
The bill they send out is based on last year's workman comp rates, and then they look at what you have this year and then
Okay.
adjust it accordingly up or down. Jamie, do you have budgeted for the State's Attorney Association?
I think so. It should be in the budget. So that, the State Attorney Association, we, twice a year, they provide CLEs for us for, prosecution related CLEs. We have to have 48 CLEs every 3 years, I guess. To keep our license.
I motion to approve the expenses minus the, school board association, since Sam doesn't want it anyways.
Motion by Stephanie to approve the vouchers with exception of North Dakota School Board Association for the amount of $200. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Dale votes aye. Motion carries. Sheriff Michaelis, are you online with us?
I am.
Tell us about your COPS grant.
All right. First of all, I apologize I can't be there. I'm stuck in Bismarck. And my charging cord isn't working on my computer. So hopefully somebody there has the paperwork. So the city's interested in a contract with the county, which I think would be a good idea. One way I thought we should go about that was to utilize the COPS grant, if indeed we would qualify for the COPS grant, which is due June 16th. So it's right around the corner. So the city has agreed to pay the remainder of what the COPS grant would not pay for a deputy for the first 3 years of this COPS grant.
How about the fourth year we're required to have the officer?
That's something we would have to talk about, but we thought of maybe splitting it and see how that would go. Because we do have to retain it that fourth year.
Amber, this is Jamie. Did you submit some new numbers with that insurance difference?
No, I did not. My computer is not working here, so.
So what are the additional duties then that the cities require? They just want the ordinance of the cities?
Yeah, and to patrol the city.
Right, but I mean, we're already take care of any state and federal laws, correct?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is just to enforce the city ordinances.
Yep.
So my question is, how do we do this without costing the county any additional monies. Because it doesn't benefit the county residents, they're already getting the services of the sheriff's department. City's just.
Well, it would benefit the county by getting some of the drugs out of the city and having an extra deputy in the county.
But aren't we already enforcing the drug laws with the enforcement we have?
We're trying, but one more officer would be helpful, very.
Would this help with working overtime? We'll help you guys,
Yes.
are you guys working a lot of overtime, or how is that working?
Well, I work it, because we don't really have overtime, so I work it. So anytime the guys have to take vacation or something, I mean, it's not like we just have a fill-in, it has to be someone, you know, because we only have 3 people, just enough to cover the amount of hours in a day. So I cover all the overtimes.
So would this result in a net 0 increase to the county budget?
Yes.
Are we looking to have this, this person be assigned solely to the city?
Nope.
Oh.
Countywide, I told the city I couldn't promise that we would only have 1 person to the city, but that we would answer all their ordinances and all them calls.
So you're proposing that we add additional law enforcement to the county?
Oh, yeah, they would be employed with the county, yes.
Right, so I mean, so we're going from 3 to 3 and a portion?
Yes. Well, we're going to 4, split up with the city.
So.
There's no, I can't give the city, I can't guarantee so much of a person.
Well, that's my point. So why doesn't the city just hire, if they're gonna be in charge of all the costs, if this isn't gonna cost the county anything, why doesn't the city just hire their own police chief?
Well, the city's there, I suppose you could ask them.
And how would they man that, or that one person works Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 40 hours a week? How did you manage that? I mean, it's,
Well, see, that's the point, Stephanie. So then is this request then to provide countywide dollars in order to provide police protection to Cooperstown? That's the point that I'm getting at, is the county gets by fine with their policing right now.
but are you, Amber?
No, we're not. No. We could use more.
So this is kind of a way that I'll scratch your back, you can scratch mine, we'll get this 4th person in here to relieve me a little bit. In turn, I will assist you. And it's on your dime for the first 3 years. And I get to use your person to help without me in the county. And in the 4th year, we figure out something for the salary.
Yep.
It looks, just if I figured roughly here, it'll cost $34,000 a year for the 4-year term of this COP grant, plus transportation expenses. So we'll take another vehicle, or we'll have to retain the one that we're gonna change out when the new one comes in.
Mhm. So where do you expect Stephanie to come up with the way over $100,000? Is this gonna be additional cost to the county? I mean, it's easy to say we should do it, but we have to actually pay for it, and we actually have to take the money away from the citizens to do it. There's consequences to all this.
Well, the
Well,
cities,
there's benefits to getting better policing also.
the cities agreed to pay roughly $16,000 a year at this point. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
But I'm talking the incidentals, the vehicle.
Right,
the
yeah.
uniform, the
No,
training.
that's the
And
unknown
it's-
number at this
yeah.
point, yeah. And then the 4th
The
year
4th year.
is another 50,
Yeah. And
57,000, so we'll just say 60.
the court costs, the state attorney's costs, the added liability that the county assumes because of taking care of things in the city? What happens if someone, what lawsuit could come of that, if the county now is now involved? But there's a lot of variables in this. It isn't as easy as, yeah, this is a good idea, let's just do it and worry about paying for it later. We've got a whole bunch, in case anybody hasn't noticed, there's going to be a tremendous burden financially on all government entities. And we don't have a gold mine, we have to go to the citizens to get that money. And I think,
Well, there's also gonna be a tremendous advantage with another officer
So I think
to all the citizens in the county.
I think what needs to happen, I think Amber could apply for this grant and she doesn't have to take it.
yep,
And I think that's kind of what she's looking for today, because there's a deadline, right, Amber?
16th.
That's right.
So I think what she's looking for today is the blessing of the commission to be able to apply for the grant. And if there needs to be further negotiation between the city and the county before something happens with accepting the grant, if the grant isn't going to be accepted, but at least maybe have the opportunity to apply for that grant and see if the county is going to get that. And maybe if we don't get that, maybe this is a moot negotiation.
Is there a possibility the cost share, it could be waived also? Is that
I don't
what I
know.
read here?
That I'm not sure about.
If you can get a waiver, it didn't really explain the waiver in what I read, at least I didn't see it.
Amber, one point of clarification. We don't get to define whether or not it's a benefit to the citizens. The citizens get to define whether or not it's a benefit to them.
Yeah, well, they've told me it's a benefit, everyone I've talked to.
Again, the citizens get to decide the benefit, not us.
And that's what they did.
I'll make a motion for Amberley to apply for this grant so we can at least see where we're at.
Motion by Stephanie to have the sheriff apply for a 3 years COPS grant for police funding. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I think it's a 4-year grant.
It's a 4-year.
The grant is for 3, but
3
you have to
years, yep.
retain for
Yeah.
4. Yeah. Seconded by Scott. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any additional discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So I should just talk a little bit from my point of view about having another officer. It's no secret that we have more drugs in the community, more crime in the community, more thefts. It pains me to spend more money for the county, but I think that this is probably something that is good to look at because crime isn't going away. I think Amber and I have job security for the rest of our lives. I don't think that there's any secret to that. So I understand where John's coming from. This is going to be a really shitty year coming up for everybody because inflation is going up on taxpayers. Land values are probably going to go up. Counties are going to have more expenses. So I understand where John is coming from. I think this is something that everybody should talk to their constituents about and see what they want because I don't see things getting better. And if times are harder out there, there's going to be more stuff going on in the county, and it'd be really nice to have people visible and have officers available. I think Amber's done a really good job, and I think the sheriff's department is headed in the right path, has been headed in a way better direction after Amber became sheriff. But I think it's something that you guys seriously need to take a look at. And like I said, it pains me to say spend more money because that's not the way I am, but I think it's something that the citizens could potentially benefit from.
And I also agree with John there is additional expenses that are there, and perhaps maybe a commissioner and someone from the city can sit down and hash out a game plan. If once this grant is approved or not approved, whatever, then we can sit down and be like, okay, so what's what we can present to everybody, so it'll be a common, sit down that way afterwards and then present it as a whole or something. But
I'm not against the concept of it. I want to define who's gonna pay for it. So I think that any additional cost over and above what the county is paying now should be the responsibility of the city. They're the ones that want their ordinances enforced. I think it's their responsibility to pay for that. And I'm fine with the cops grant and all the rest of it. It's just that it doesn't make life any better for someone living in Binford if the leash laws are enforced in Cooperstown. And so we have to make sure that the services we have now, that everybody is fine with paying for, we don't increase that cost to benefit a few. And no doubt, Cooperstown is a big part of the county, but they're the ones requesting these additional services. And they should pay for those. So we need to define how that's gonna be paid for. Again, I'm not against the cop grant, I'm not against the extra law enforcement. It's the financial responsibility of it. And that's why I said,
Detail.
why don't they just have their own police force? That would define the costs.
I think I talked with Amber about that, and since they don't have police now, that they can't apply for the grant. Is what I remember.
That's correct.
That's probably true.
What does the court services contract in our packet?
So that's the existing contract that was signed, because this has been something that's been in discussion for years. The way the court services contract works out now is that the state attorney's office handles the prosecution of any of the municipal cases that would go to district court if it's a dog case or abandoned vehicle case or whatever. But it's 40% of the fees are paid to the county and 60% of it to the state. I don't see, I think we would have to look at this on a first year basis and see what happens and see if there is maybe some requirement that the city pay for prosecution. I don't see this being a pile of extra cases, but who knows, I could be wrong with that. But I think the agreement with the 40/60 without any payment from the city is probably an appropriate thing to do. We keep track of our time for working on city cases for this first year if we do come up with something, and go from there.
How about the liability issue? So how do we handle that? Someone's arrested in Cooperstown for,
Well,
pick an ordinance,
so
and
these
something becomes
ordinances-
about of it, and there's an injury to either.
So these ordinances, I don't think that there is a misdemeanor ordinance that the city has, because that's all state law anyway. So the dog cases, blight within the city or whatever, those would all be infractions, so they wouldn't be arrestable offenses. So it'd be a citation.
I didn't explain it right. Okay, so there's a noise ordinance, and the officer goes to enforce that, and an altercation occurs, and either a resident is injured or the officer is injured, and then out of that arises a court case. All of a sudden, now we're embroiled, the county is embroiled in something that we wouldn't have been without our involvement in the city ordinances. And that isn't a way out there scenario.
No, and I understand what you're saying, and I can appreciate that. I mean,
There's so many
That-
variables to this thing that just sitting down and saying, yeah, it's a good idea, that we're missing on, and then we have to come back at a later time and try to make up for it. And it always goes back, our only job is financial, and we don't have an unlimited pile of money, and how do we deal with all that?
so I'm gonna give an answer that you're gonna hate, and you're gonna shake your head at, John. I'm gonna say in a situation like that, law enforcement probably would have been called anyway.
That's right.
So, if there's a disturbance in town, the sheriff's department likely would have already been called. And so, I knew you were gonna shake your head and laugh at that.
Well, I mean, it's
But-
so easily disputable, so you're saying then that there will never be
No,
any
I'm not
liability issue
saying
by
that.
us taking.
I'm not saying that.
Well, that's what you
because-
just said.
I mean,
Yeah, but probably not additional.
Probably not additional
Yeah.
liability issues, because law enforcement gets called on just about every city issue that there is anyway, and most of the time now they're there because they respond to something and they find out, oh shit, this is a city ordinance situation, I can't handle it. So most of the time law enforcement is actually already there, and Amber can correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the time you show up to city calls and you're like, well, I can't do anything, right, Amber?
That's right.
So
This will give law enforcement more exposure.
it will. Unquestionably it will. The matter of how much, I can't answer that, John, but
Yeah.
I mean, the majority of the calls in town, law enforcement already does respond to. Whether or not they can do anything about those calls is
Okay.
a different story. But I think, just generally speaking, law enforcement does appear at every call or most calls, unless someone calls Amber and says, hey, there's a dog running across town, will you do something about it? Those are the calls that she doesn't respond to, but if there's someone fighting or a loud party, they're there anyway.
So what is the city budgeted then towards this?
We would, at our last special meeting, it was talked about, discussed, and a motion was made and passed that we would cover the 25% cost of the grant for the first 3 years.
So there hasn't been anything budgeted for all the other,
We haven't done our budget yet for this next
so
year.
everything else that we talked about, so that has to be put in some kind of format.
Right.
Yeah, and I think I mean, like I said, I think after this COPS grant is applied for, I mean, this can be an open discussion in the future. One of the things that I was looking through things last night preparing for the meeting, one of the things I noticed is I think there's a mistake in the insurance. And Amber and I spoke about that. I think it's probably $700 and whatever it is dollars a month. I don't think it's $700 and some dollars for the year. I would guess that should have been a monthly expense. So I would guess it's probably around $7,700 more for a year for that employee.
For the officer, you mean, each person's got
Yeah.
insurance on it, so.
Well, it's just health insurance for the county employee, but I would guess it's not $700 a year. I would guess it's $700 a month for that employee.
And I mean, just from a glance, there's a bunch of things missing, of course, but I thought it's usually about 50% of the salary additional for the benefits and everything that we have on a county employee.
See that one more time.
So if we have a salary of $44,000, usually by the time we're all done, it's about 52% are all the additional items that are responsible for retirement, healthcare, all the rest of it by the time we're done with that employee. Unless we get a breakdown on that.
You use the numbers that I gave you, Amber, right?
Yeah, it's just that insurance one is not, like Jamie pointed out, it's not right.
Right. So that would increase that number by $9,000, and then that would get us to 66,000, which would be the 50%.
Well, I think we can leave this at where it is until we find out if we get the COPS grant, and then we'll have to talk about it further and
Yep. Thanks, Amber.
see if we can
Thank
make it work for
you.
both of us.
Well,
All right,
we'll
thank you.
have to have what the increase is. We will never have this done by the budget. We'll have to have what the increase is, Amber, shown in your budget for this year.
Yep, will do.
Yeah, the health insurance was $734.72 a month, so $8,816.64 a year.
Right, and that increases our 57,000 by $8,000, which takes it to 66, basically 65, which is 50% of the 44.
Wayne, what have you got for us?
I've got a book that's I see in the packet, it's talks about the new bridge 20 Bridge project funding. And I did talk to Brian Fuchs. And I think I sent some of those emails on to you guys. I questioned if we had a bridge that had a number already, project number, if it would still might qualify for that 100% funding. And his response was yes, there may be some 80-20 funding that gets added to this if we need to use up those funds. So it may not be a full 100% depending on this, and also depends upon the amount of grading that may be needed. Limiting the grading of these projects as the funds are meant for the bridge, not to realign or regrade the road to a higher design speed. So that would be the Decker Bridge. We could send it in and see what happens, I guess. If we get 100% funding, that'd be great. If we don't, to make a
And
decision.
that
after
one's been out of service for how long?
Pardon?
That one's been out of service or?
Oh, we blocked it off last year.
Yeah, last fall.
December, wasn't
Yeah, could be November,
it? I think
December.
it was
So-
December.
Right before deer season.
Because they didn't define, it. So in there, they didn't define it, but they said bridges that were out of service weren't eligible for the funding.
Yeah, well, you said this was,
This was, okay.
yep. So, then, it's not in there, but, because I'm working on the disaster, I've talked to a few township people who come in and gotten some information. And also, the ER funding is available. And so I called into the state, they just called me back, that's why I'm a little late, but they're coming up on Tuesday, they've got some other sites to check in Barnes County and Nelson, so they're gonna check our project out there on County Road 2. And I said, well, there is a hydraulic study. I said, if you have a hydraulic study, we have to go by what the hydraulic study said. So it'll be determined after Tuesday then whether or not to be eligible to get the 3 culverts put in there or 1 box culvert, 5 by 12. Go across that diagonally across that intersection. 'Cause right now, the water is still running over and through that road, which I'll never find the right picture. This is what it looked like in the beginning.
Yeah,
This is on the 17th,
that's about when I was up there. Yeah.
and it's still flowing through there pretty good.
Yeah.
So, and when it flows through here, then there's a township road
To the south.
to the south. And so the water comes across there and it runs over that township road.
Was that road washed out, Township Road?
Well, they made a low water crossing farther to the south, so the water goes around and runs across that low water crossing.
Can I interject right there?
Yep.
That low water crossing was never there until the water rushed over.
Made its own.
Yeah.
It helped
Well,
itself.
you told me the township put a low water crossing.
So the plan was to put in
Two
a,
put one in.
to put a 24-inch culvert in that road, which needs to be there anyway, and the township will do that. And then we're gonna build a Texas crossing, but rather than have that water run south and then have to cross the road, it'd be just, make a lot of sense just to run it diagonally where the Pickerel Creek.
So there's already one culvert at angle already, see,
Yeah.
you know. Just want, you're like, I add one more to it, that's the correct, what you guys wanna do, you're thinking of, you know.
Well, we were going to.
Yeah.
Then if this ER funding is available, then they wanna go by what the
They say.
State Water Commission said.
Okay.
But how do we deal with all the downstream exposure then?
I don't know. The next
Well,
one down, what size is that culvert down by,
either 5 or a 6. But my answer to that would be, I'm Don Houston. I was
Yeah,
on the
I know.
board for a long time, and I luckily got off the spring. But even with that 48 running full and that road blown out, it did not go over that next road 2 miles down.
No, but I mean, it's gotta get all the way to the river, and there's certainly,
But that road 2 miles down was controlling it.
yeah, well, you know the problem. There's been so much drainage, non-permitted drainage down up in Nelson County on Pickerel Creek, that the water coming in there is far more than it was 10 years ago.
True.
It just seems to me that it would make sense if we could get together and do a multi-county legal drain, so that it would take it all the way from where the water comes way up north and manage it all the way down to the river. That way no one's gonna be damaged, because as we keep dumping water into that drain, eventually it doesn't make it all the way to the river. And it's just a domino effect all the way down, and that's pretty easy to just drive it and look at it, that it happens. And so we fix one problem, and then we have a whole other problem. Or we don't fix a problem. You understand that the problem with this thing is, how do you make everybody happy? And I think the only way to make everybody happy is to make it a legal drain that everybody either voted on and it got approved, or turned it down and then it stays the way it is.
So any of the control structures have not been changed. So north of this County Road 2, there are 2 culverts that are bigger than the ones that were in County Road 2.
I've flown over some, the theory is, of course, and always has been, that if it became a legal drain, as soon as the governing entities, the Fish and Wildlife and the rest of them got in there and started with the surveying it and putting a plan together, that they would say, well, why are these spoiled piles here, and why did this take place, and why did this take place, and why was this drained? And that's been some of the holdup on going forward, it's been going on for years, and I don't know how we get around that, but the purpose of a legal drain is to make it so that it's a democratic procedure, and not everybody's gonna like it. Some are gonna like it, some aren't, depending on the outcome of the vote, but that's really the only way we can do, the only way I see to do it and make it viable. You know, there's people get hurt, the more water you dump in there's people that benefit, there's people that get hurt.
Well, with the spring thaw, we had 6 miles of road that you couldn't cross, and the county road, the paved county road, which should remain there, is the one that blew out. So there was 6 miles of road that you couldn't cross. So I understand what you're saying, John, but I think because setting up a legal drain takes a fair amount of time to get one set up.
It'd be done by now if it would've went forward and I started pushing for it 9 years ago.
So that's an indication to you that people don't want a legal drain.
There we go. They don't want a legal drain, but that is the only way to fix it.
But I think the way to fix this problem right now, which needs to happen anyway, there's gotta be a culvert put in the road
Yeah,
to
oh,
fix that
absolutely.
issue.
I'm not saying that.
And it's gotta be run to the southwest diagonally to fix that issue. And, down the road, working on a legal drain, let's go for it, but.
Oh, no one said we're gonna fix it. It's gotta be fixed.
It's gotta be fixed, and I think
Yes,
it's gotta be
absolutely.
Yep.
And I think the amount of water that's been going through that washout is more than it would have gone through that box culvert,
And
5 by 12.
And that's a market road, correct? A federal market road, they call
It's
it?
a federal aid road. yeah.
There we go.
But it's gotta be fixed. I mean,
Sarah.
That's whether it be temporary or permanent.
Sarah,
But if it's gonna be permanent, we may as well go the whole hog, so we get all the federal money in there, and you're probably talking about millions of dollars for the thing but if we get federal money to do it, why don't we do that?
they're gonna come out and look at that
They're coming
Yeah.
out Tuesday.
Tuesday to look at it
Yeah.
for possible emergency, and that's 100% funded.
Maybe you
Yeah.
should, one of you guys should come out there.
That's 100% funded, the emergency things.
On Tuesday,
Yeah.
what time?
No, I mean the commissioner, one of the commissioners should.
Yeah. And when you good. Everybody go.
Yeah, everybody involved, the more people.
What time is it, Wayne? I can try to get.
Well, they're gonna maybe get here around noon. They're gonna be down by Daisy or Wallen. And then they're coming out, he's gonna call me, let me know when they're on the way. Probably eat dinner in town.
Contact the boys and let them know so they can meet you there. Or?
So,
Yeah, my only concern is, and maybe you've already approved it, but it should go diagonal, whatever culvert we put in there, because right
And
now we're
that
dumping it
was-
on the field and wiping on the road.
That's what I was gonna suggest today too, but I haven't had a chance.
so, I assume Brian's here because of concerns of where the water eventually ends up going across his property too. What are your thoughts, Brian?
Well, it certainly is, as the years have gone on, it's less, the control isn't anywhere near where it used to be. I think you guys understand that what got taken out up north was 18-inch culverts right at the head of where the four corners of water is. And what size culverts were put in there? 36. Yeah, 2 different crossings. I believe that's about 5 times the water, so some of the stuff that's happened, yes, there's a lot of problems that happen, multi-counties, townships, this spring. We had a huge problem even last year, because of the extra water.
I just have sorry,
So-
Brian, I just have a quick question. When you say extra water, it just means the length of flow, not more water coming at one time, right?
Well, there's, so if you took, this water comes from Four Corners, it comes with more head pressure, you could say, right? So when it gets to Pickerel Lake and Pickerel Lake is full, there's gonna be more head pressure when those big culverts are full. Instead of controlling it more back farther. Once it gets going with all of the added drains that happen south of your guys' place, all the way down, it's not just you guys, it's land that's drained all the way. So yesterday I drove because I wanted to see if there was any water coming in, say from this township. So all the drains that are coming from field land aren't running into Pickerel Creek down in Romney Township. If you go north of Highway 45, or take Highway 45 and south, the amount of water that's coming right now is all from the Pickerel Lake area. North of Highway 45. Stephanie would know, she goes to Annetta all the time, she knows where it goes by Luke Yerkeson's, that dumps in on the east side of Luke's. I've got pictures to show what's going through there.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I flew my drone and took a bunch of pictures, and the lake is just spread out. Everything's just spread out.
Yep.
And that's the drain for it. That's the exit for the water in Pickerel Lake.
Right. And also the state was involved in that, but there's to take what evidently our forefathers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers that set up culverts smaller at the top and continue at the bottom. Now, what's been done is, let's go 5 times bigger the capacity on the top of the drain, so that we gotta keep on going that much bigger at the next one, that much bigger at the next one, and that's what takes place. That's what, with the, and let's face it, draining nowadays is perfect, it's great. We've all done it, it's perfect, it gets to the tributary as fast as it can.
So the.
This year it didn't run over County Road 10, it was close to running over.
Yeah.
Down by Langer Corner.
It ran over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it did a little bit. Yeah.
And that road, when it, and I can't remember what year I'd been keeping track of that, but that road kind of got washed out, whatever year it was. You maybe can look back and see. At that time, there was another culvert that was put alongside there to double the size. Plus that grade was put up higher too. There was fill put in higher. And it went over the top of that as well. So when it gets to, my son owns the land at the bottom where it goes through. I hear more for him probably because he's hearing impaired, deaf. And when it gets to that point, if you guys have driven down there, you know how Pickerel Creek continues to go on from the time it goes under County Road what?
10.
10? And the amount of water that's coming there now, it just blows stuff out because probably nature made these spots to get to the river slower, but it just blows stuff out because there's so much coming. We've taken, basically we went probably, I don't want to say it's the best land in the country, but very exceptional Cheyenne Valley land, and now we're kind of like Fargo. We're set up as a retention pond for all of that's kind of how I feel about it. That's how bad it's gotten.
I mean, the original drainages were meant to hold water for a period of time, let it go through, but that's why an 18-inch culvert. Keep holding it, and eventually by the time the growing season came out, everything had drained out. And now
And
what's
granted,
caused that, I don't know.
the state had a lot to do this. They were
Yeah.
involved, and so there's one big rain and the water went over Highway 15.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, there's all kinds of calls that come in over one historic rain because some of those lakes are already up at a pretty good level, although not last, or the summer before when it happened. So you get all kinds of complaining, and then all of a sudden they want to go by, tell me about the, if a culvert gets put in and you go with their funding. What's that called again?
Stream study.
Stream study, and if you go by that, it's an avalanche of water. That's all they already have the big in the top. That's why any of you other county commissioners, and you've probably been up to that County Road 2. That should be like a structure to help hold it back, to wall it up a bit as well, besides what's north of there.
Yeah, it's either that or design a drainage that it's big enough to take it all.
Or take it
And
all
not
to the river,
really
straight to the
take it right-
river,
that's correct.
so it stays contained
That's correct.
and not go out into,
Kind of like the Carnic drain, correct?
But even that has control structures in it
Correct,
to
it
slow
does.
it up. Yeah,
it's just so much different from
but you're right.
the years
Same
and
thing.
years
Some way
gone
to
on
take
and
it from the
dream
start
and what takes
all the way to the
place.
end without
As
harming
land
anybody
prices have
around.
went up, we no longer have our great-grandfathers, like I said, our grandfathers and so on and so forth that basically designed this stuff. Now the design is evidently no good, so we just we want to get rid of our water no matter where we at, and we don't care what happens. Year or two ago, I got the minutes from the Nelson County Water Board. And when some of this stuff was gonna take place up at the Four Corners area, the county commissioners were at that meeting, and they said, we wanna support our farmers, but we also don't wanna hurt what could happen downstream. It's in the minutes.
So I just have a question on, so on Highway 45, when was the last time that size of that culvert changed? And I'm just curious, because all this water comes through Highway 45, and that culvert hasn't, I would say probably hasn't changed.
What you're saying is there's not more water coming from up north to go through
No.
that culvert? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that, but the size of the culvert hasn't changed, so you're not getting more water at a precise point in time. You're getting water for a longer period of time. There's a lot of water. Excuse me. There is a lot of water up
Where,
north.
it's not the same flow that's going through that big Highway 45 culvert as it was, it's way increased the flow.
The other explanation would be that they way oversized that culvert, and it wasn't anywhere near its capacity, so that when they started oversizing the culverts upstream from it, it could still handle it.
But if you go back to the culvert study, I mean, it, like you said, Brian, it really increases the size of County Road 2, and that's from the state water board doing that stream study survey.
Do you think all the stream study crossings that have been done are particularly perfect for each and every spot?
No. I'm not saying that we need a 5x12 cement culvert. What I am here for is to say this 48-inch culvert that's gonna replace a 36-inch culvert that was there, that was probably plugged or something. It was a junk culvert. That 48-inch culvert needs to run diagonally. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely, and should have from the start.
So we have,
Exactly.
Should have from
so
the
we
start.
have two 48-inch
No
culverts.
disagreement there.
Two 48-inch culverts running diagonally across that intersection, and I think that's what needs to happen. Moving forward, and I mean, like on our farm, we aren't going out there just draining Pickerel Creek. We're maintaining the drains, that's all we're doing, we're not creating anything new. And, I mean, if we need to look at some type of illegal drain moving forward, I would invite you to come and set up a meeting to get that initiated.
Well,
They tried it 2 years
It's
ago.
already been one.
I think that's, see, the process for legal drain isn't started with the bureaucracy or the county entity. It started with the people that are going to benefit from the drain.
Yep.
So they get together a board, and then the problem comes because in order to get it to a point where you can vote on it, there has to be some engineering studies done. And those have to be paid for upfront by the people that are gonna benefit. And that money is at risk until after the vote.
So we had this in and at the basement of the auditorium.
Yeah, I was there actually.
And so we had a few people that were supposed to raise money to help pay for this engineering study.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to
Couldn't
pay
get
for
one
it.
signature or whatever,
Nobody wanted to
or
pay
no
for it.
money to go into it.
Right.
Another thing that I could say, when you talked about maintaining ditches, and we all do it as farmers, but maybe what some, maybe on the board that don't understand, most all do. So what year didn't we have a farm program? Mark, can you help me out? Scott, can you help me out? I'm getting too old to understand when they're.
What years?
What years, and then what happened in the last couple of years when everything really kind of went pretty crazy because it was dry last year and there might not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And this all is creating increased flow as well.
Well, I think, Brian.
Because there was no control through the Soil Conservation Service no longer. There wasn't a farm program, so let's face it, there was a lot of stuff that's done all over, not just in Pickerel Creek, it's everywhere.
Brian, I think one of the biggest things that probably changed drainage was the laser.
Well, it's
Like you
perfect.
said,
It's perfect.
It's
really good.
perfect. It
It's
isn't
efficient.
like, it just runs water.
It works.
It works.
Yeah.
So, Wayne, are we gonna put them at a 45 and then we're gonna put a, what do you call the funnel on the
Flared end
the
section? I
flared
didn't-
end on them?
I didn't have any.
So what's in there now, guys?
36.
Well, the 36 was
There was a
washed out, there's a
36.
48-inch running diagonally.
Yeah. But there's something wrong with it. There's something wrong with it, I think.
No, it's good, but 48 is good.
Okay. The 36, it was rusted out and collapsed.
Correct.
There was one that was kind of a crazy measurement, wasn't it? Like a 42 or some, or am I wrong on that?
How much does
The 36 ran.
FES increase the flow on a culvert? It's quite a bit,
That's
isn't it?
one that shouldn't have ever been there.
Right.
Well, way more than you would
That
think.
went on the wrong side of the.
I just keep passing it down, Wayne. You just keep on
Yes,
rolling.
we can't get this.
It washes out our-
I think that one's
I
yours.
don't think it'll get paid
Oh,
for
you'll
it.
get one?
I'll steal one of yours when it's over.
First, leave it, I mean, it's, we, right away when it washed out, we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're nice to
Here's,
look there.
here's a-
Okay, so that's the proposed plan that I brought until I talked to the DOT. Right now, we have a 64 by 48 inch culvert out there. And that's long enough to go north to south. But if we put it at an angle, then you need 104 feet, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, 104 feet. So the 64 by 48 is $6,388.10. And if we add another 40 feet onto what we've got there, that gets to be 104. So then the total is $10,486.60.
Just for the culvert.
It's just for the culverts, that's not any excavation work or anything.
I think we had this discussion 2 years ago.
We've had the discussion
Yes.
since I've been a commissioner.
And when the road has to have something done to it, as it's washed out now, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
That we have to go by the stream study, I believe, isn't it?
No, if there's gonna be federal money put into it, then we have to go by the stream study.
I think what these guys are asking for now is we put this other culvert in diagonally through the intersection.
Yeah.
We gotta have some kind of control, Mark.
Yeah.
Uh,
I agree.
Why should
And
it,
I would wanna make sure that it is 248s in there, if it ends up to be that there was a smaller one and then a 48. That's taking away more control, more yet.
Yeah.
why shouldn't there be more control upstream?
Well, it should be, but, you know,
That's
there
what
shouldn't
the
be that
problem
much that gets to Anetta as fast as it gets there.
But this is the one that we have control over.
I know, but that's,
Yeah.
so we can flush it down to somebody else with no.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I think you guys probably would agree too, if you went on the north side of Anetta and what's that, Nelson? 20 or 50, whatever that county road is.
23? No,
23.
County Road 20.
Okay,
20.
So-
Yeah.
you're up there enough, you know what comes from the east and goes to Pickerel Creek that didn't used to come to Pickerel Creek as well. So, I mean, there's a lot more stuff that's coming down now.
This was an unusual year because we raised two roads, you know, trying to control it. And we actually raised them, the county line and the 1 mile north of County Road 2, 2 years ago. And it washed over both.
Gotta
of them.
slow it up coming up from north of there.
It washed
Yeah,
over
gotta
both
slow
of
it
them this
up.
time.
Not that water can't be managed, but, you know, I don't think it takes rocket science to take 18 inches out and stick 36s in right at the top. And then load everything towards you guys' direction. That doesn't help you guys out either. Doesn't help the roads out.
I don't anticipate events like this spring happening every year. I mean, we had our soil, we had rain in the fall, so we had good soil. Our ground, like John just said, our ground is frozen, so I don't think the frost is out, which would allow a lot of that water to go down. So I think there's a lot more surface drainage than there normally is. I think that was one of our issues.
Yeah, but we didn't have 110 inches of snow. We've had 110 inches of snow over the years.
Generally,
Yeah, the
it's a
biggest
little
problem
sloper though.
is for us where we're at is to keep it contained in Pickerel Creek and at the flow that comes down there, and not just this spring, before, once the Four Corners project up there started, it can't control it in Pickerel Creek.
Right.
It doesn't stay in the channel all the way to the river.
The one good thing that happens right below County Road 2, there's 2 miles of sloughs,
Yeah.
meadows, and it expanded really wide this year before it got to our next culvert. So it slowed down a lot, and that road controlled it. It did run full for 2-3 days. It was absolutely full, but it dropped down pretty quickly, so.
Just
And
start
that's when that's with that road blown out.
blowing out. I mean, this discussion here is a microcosm of what the
Yeah.
problem, problem is. We do something to benefit one and it harms the other and vice versa. And how do you arrive at a
It's the whole
happy
Cheyenne
medium on
Valley,
that? I
the
don't know.
whole Cheyenne Valley, drainage area. You know, what comes in. It's, yeah, we gotta deal with more than just Pickerel Creek. If just Pickerel Creek was coming down there,
And of course, the bigger the capacity, the more that's gonna get drained into it too.
yeah.
That's a given. I mean,
I
if
know.
if
If it ends up to be bigger on the top, which, if it happens to go through all of this stream study crossing stuff and can shoot through there as fast and as efficient as it can with no control, all I can say is more total blowout.
So where do we stand?
That's why I brought it to you guys.
So do we need a motion to fix
They
this?
said that, you know, say
gotta
we
fix
put
the road.
in, we don't follow the stream study, and a whole bunch of water comes again, and it runs over the county road, and it washes it out. Then you're probably not gonna get any funding after that,
If we use the funding in the first place.
if you use the funding.
Yeah, that's always, they don't have, they can't tell us what to do unless they pay for what we're doing. I understand that.
So you turn down a bunch of money.
So what's 48 and 48's, what's that gonna do? I mean, I assume the water quits flowing.
What's in there now, Wayne? You
There's
probably know.
148 in there,
Yeah.
that's diagonal, and then there was that 36
That
that
one
was
is flowing?
north to
That's
south.
48 and it's
Yeah.
going?
Oh,
You know, no, it was a 36 in there, east of the intersection. So I went up to a 48, from the 36 to a 48.
So if you go 36, what's the capacity of that versus I
Well,
mean, things go up pretty fast from 36 to 40 to,
yeah,
they're saying you go
if you
from 18
double,
to 36,
say
you
a
go 5
24 and a 48, is 4 times as much water goes through.
Well, but length
48
is,
is,
length is dependent on that too. As you make the
Right,
culvert
but they
longer, the
use it
flow.
the same length
the
and the
flow
same
slows down,
diameter.
yes.
You know, you use the same 40-foot length or 100-foot length, it's gonna,
All I can say as a taxpayer is gotta do whatever to try to control.
and I feel for those guys.
I realize everybody's got
Those
water.
guys have got a
stuff,
road
but-
that's washed out, one
Yeah.
of the main roads, and they've gotta go around in some tough.
Well, I mean, it's a given, the road's gotta be fixed. I mean, as quick as
Oh, yeah.
possible, that's gotta be fixed. It's just how much money do you stick underneath it if it's gonna get tore out again or washed out again? Or do you make it so it can never be washed out again and put a bridge in there?
And then we don't know the
Bridges are
exact
cheap now.
condition of that culvert that's in there, the
Get one for $1.
Yeah.
48 inch that's in
Do
there.
you know when that diagonal culvert was put in, Wayne?
Remember.
And the possibilities to try to slow up water north, hold it for a number of days before it gets to your place. That's never gonna happen. Nobody wants to hold water. I mean, it
That's not
just
gonna
isn't gonna happen.
Now.
So you gotta try to control it.
Yep.
Not with all the
Could you
legal
fix
drain.
this
That's the
now
whole
by
purpose of
diverting the
legal drain,
flow
to
away from
control
the
the
it.
diagonal
Yeah.
culvert and shoving it all through
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
gap in the
they do
road?
that, knowing
Anyway,
what the
that's not a
problem-
deal, so. Here we are.
You know, to fix it sooner rather than later.
And the
I was
problem
thinking
is with
if-
a legal drain, don't
I was
you
thinking
guys-
if we agreed to this scenario,
Yeah.
then we'd just take a whole bunch of fill up there to the west side,
Sure.
and then take the cat and push it in there as fast as you can. Hopefully it stops the water,
That's a dam, temporary dam.
and then fill the road in.
Well,
You know, if you agree to the diagonal.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we gotta get the road passable. That's,
Okay,
The only,
But when the water's that deep, you
Can we
can't
go?
fill it in quick enough.
You know, if I remember right, when I was up there, that road, it's in quite a dip.
Yes,
Isn't it?
correct, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's,
Yeah,
it's,
I mean,
it's,
it's-
it's
it's
real
Yeah,
road,
it's
but-
built through the creek.
It's built
Yeah.
through the creek, yeah.
Goes through Pickerel Creek.
It's more pronounced to the east, you go up to.
Yeah.
What would it be if we put the 36 that was in there, instead of increasing it and raising the road? We're all talking about controls and holding water.
Well, there's sure a lot more water going through there now than the 36 and that 48 Landau.
Yeah.
Yes. So in that case, if you tried to do it right now, I think it'd run over the road. I believe, wouldn't it?
Yep.
That's a lot of water up
Do you need me to motion to accept this? I will motion to accept your plan to fix the culvert.
This one here.
Yes,
The first one.
the ones that you guys,
Well, this was before I got the call from the state. But, I mean, I can feel for Brian too, but can't we divert that? I know you're not supposed to change the course of a creek. If you could turn that and head it towards the river right away instead of going out into your field and coming around like that.
We did try to turn it and put rocks in, spent a bunch, and actually had it a little higher on the south side. Still blew it up. I mean, that was not our water. But it
So
was our dollar.
What does it look like now? What is the situation down there now? Haven't looked at it in a while.
That, it breached the, what we fixed right there where it comes across the road, goes 100 yards south or whatever, and then tried to just turn it and keep it straight, to keep it in the creek. And it blew over, you know.
But I mean, are these 48s gonna make it worse? They can't make it worse, it's wide open right now.
But the question is, I mean, we put something smaller in there and it doesn't work, and it's road, we still have a problem, correct? If we put a 36 back in and it doesn't handle it, it's still flowing over the top. It's still not open.
I mean, to me, there's three
Yeah.
scenarios.
Yeah.
And there, so the one is put it back the way it was, but you gotta wait till the flows goes way down.
No,
Second is to put it this way and then hope to try to get some kind of consensus to drain all the way from the river, all the way back to Pickerel Creek, and this will be tore out. Or the third is to, and that doesn't seem very likely to get a consensus and put a legal drain in. So,
Go before, and then, you know, especially once it, well, even the creek, I suppose, but once it hits the river, I suppose then it's all involvement with the Corps of Engineers and the whole 9 yards.
You bet.
so then it becomes how often is this gonna occur, and is it gonna keep getting worse? And are these culverts then have a lifespan of 2 years or 4 years before it washes out again? I don't know. That,
Yeah,
and there's so many
nobody knows.
variables in this thing.
And it's a road, it needs to be fixed, but like I say, from my standpoint, I just need to have some control.
Sure.
And it's already a problem where it's at, so, the plan I see here, it's just up in the ante a little bit more, going from a 36, up to a 48, 248, so that's all I can say. I'm on the bottom receiving end, and,
Well, same with the Cheyenne River and us, Scott.
Yeah.
You know, we can't control what comes through the Cheyenne River, but you know that people have cleaned out their drains and added more
Yeah.
drainage, and it all comes down and
it's
flushes
a
the
monster,
river.
it's a monster.
We're just south of me, we're replacing the culvert, you know, south of my place, County Road 1. The same thing.
The water come back up again. I don't know if it's going down now.
It's going down slowly, river is, so.
But we have a motion on the table to repair this road with an additional 48 going diagonally. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Yeah, it's gotta be repaired. I mean, this doesn't have to be forever. This can be a temporary repair.
Seconded
It
by
can't be
Mark.
fixed now until the water goes down. You know, put that other.
Do we need to do this as a
Roll call.
roll call? Since it's a money deal.
I would say so if it's a money deal.
We don't have, it's not a money deal because we don't have a value.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is an intention, this is basically an intention to do a temporary repair to this thing. To restore some kind of infrastructure, but I don't know if it matters or not.
No. Well, is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any additional discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion ca-
Are you nay?
I'm a nay.
2 nays, 3 ayes, motion carries.
Didn't we discuss one time about a snag and clear thing?
Oh, that's real regulations and that has nothing to do with this
People
stuff.
push the envelope on that.
Oh.
So can we try to get some consensus to try to get, can you guys push and try to get, so we get a legal drain in this thing? No?
Fred did. And Fred's no longer on the water board.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, we
Fred,
tried.
the Upper Cheyenne had nothing to do with this.
Pardon me?
The Upper Cheyenne had nothing to do with this.
You're correct, but this, the legal drain is gonna cover 3 counties.
Yeah.
So that's why it was organized to have 3 counties, you know, residents or landowners in the 3 counties come to the auditorium to listen to a presentation.
And we got 5
By
people or
Wayne.
something.
Pardon me?
And we got 5 people coming to it or something.
Well, there was a big.
There was a big crowd.
But no money.
30 or, at least 30 or 40 people.
I think it
maybe
was
40.
75 grand he was gonna need
Yeah.
to do the engineering study,
Pretty much.
and that was, you know,
And see, the county and all the counties, all the government entities can be participants in the legal drain and be assigned a dollar value. Because of course, a road has a value to it. It's not only the landowners that have to be responsible. It can be the counties, the townships, anybody that will benefit from it can be financially and have a vote and be financially responsible for it. So it isn't putting it all on the landowners. I don't know what percentage, but a good percentage of it would be with the government entities also.
I agree with you, but to get that initial engineering study to require the vote,
Right.
you need to, you know, yeah, whatever.
Well,
So to raise that money was,
it's too,
Impossible.
because the money's a risk until the vote passes.
Right.
If it passes, then the money comes back. If it doesn't,
Right.
yeah.
It's like this road. My boys use that road as well. I mean, the road needs to be fixed. You know, we use the road. It's not, nothing that doesn't have to be fixed. It's
Right.
just, like I say, being down on the bottom part of it, it's brutal.
they should put a gate at 45, put a gate in the culvert.
That'd be great. There'd be a great
Good luck
dam.
on that
Be a
one.
great
Yeah.
dam there.
Good luck on
Go
that.
right ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, no.
Let's try that one. I wonder what I could do to,
Phone will be ringing off the hook.
No, I mean, water is the true definition of water for fighting and which
Just
is
for
for
All
drinking.
right.
I mean,
We'll put
it's
it
true
in
as,
45, and you guys get to have the key to the padlock and control.
it's hard. I mean, we use the road. My boys use the road.
You got some more for us, Wayne?
Yeah.
And more,
I see that.
this little culvert is up north of Jerome Arneson's.
Is that right next to Quality Place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about 22 feet long, which it's always been,
Right.
but now it's starting to tilt in on the bottom. A lot of water comes from Steele County down.
Can we build
Over
Steele
there.
County?
Huh? Yeah.
Put a gate there too.
So,
Okay.
yeah, that's part of the problem. Then we had that big culvert that's in here too, little sketch. Over between on County Road 21, north of David Lundy's, by that big hill.
Yeah, right above Gullickson Hill there.
And that's 17 sections, 6 feet long of 5 by 6 concrete pipe, 102 feet. And the last 3 sections have fallen, tipped down, slid down.
Are they recoverable?
They're recoverable. I was gonna recover them and put them in here and then put a new smaller culvert in. And that, but 102 feet of 36-inch culvert still costs $7,298.
Yeah, I mean, see where, if this drainage comes down from the Glen's Quarter, just up north a little bit there. So the County Road 21 is almost acts like a dam. It's so high. There's no way, no matter how much water you get, we're never go over the top, at least I hope not, you know. And it goes through this big.
They're gonna run down the ditch.
Ditch, yeah. Inside, so. This is a Bible camp road we're talking about, guys, I want to be clear about it. So.
Is that concrete culvert probably eligible for an ER too?
It's probably eligible for FEMA.
FEMA, because it hasn't failed completely.
It's
Yeah.
It's still separated in many sections in there.
Mhm.
They could be probably grouted or something, just to save the rest of it. And probably could get by just taking, there's 3 sections that are laying or tipped over and down. And clean it out. You'd have to get some kind of a base down there so it wouldn't slide again. And how you do that. So we could get by that way. I'll see if FEMA will pay for that.
So, speaking of FEMA, can we take them down to where this water goes in the river on Bryan's and have them look at that too? Is there anything that can be done?
I don't
Because
know
of
if
the
they
damage
can
that's
do,
done.
that would have to be, Tom Dahl would be involved in that, because the water board got construction stuff too.
I
The
checked
disaster.
with like soil conservation, there's no dollars for any washing, washouts
It was,
or waterways.
somewhere I
making
seen where there was,
waterways.
that might have been the township funding, there was possible funding for diversion or riprapping and stuff, but not a ditch out in the field.
Used to have like a 319 project that
Probably.
used to do something like that, where they took trees out of the river and all that sort of stuff.
That's mostly for water, it's just.
Are they full?
Yeah.
Shallow and all, it's just-
Yeah, well, I think that's where
You
Brennan's.
can't see the door, the 48 yet.
So, and it's.
Oh, I
kind
see
of
what you're saying,
spread out.
yeah.
Who's in charge of 319, or who would, or is that defunct, or?
I don't know, there is the 319 in here.
Yeah, we need Johnson.
Nate
Nate.
Johnson
Nate.
runs 319, but that's, I don't think that's the sort of things they deal with.
Cause you know, it was that program that they pulled all the logs out of the Cheyenne River.
Whitewater rafting,
Oh,
you know, as
I
a,
did
Well,
that
Keith
when
was
we were
running it, they
younger.
probably weren't supposed to.
Yeah, probably, you never know.
Yeah,
Ask for forgiveness.
You know, at one time there was a plan to
he had pretty flexible
basically flood
rules.
the whole river bottom, all the way up.
That was the question with that dam north by Louis Dolls there,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Would have solved this problem.
Okay.
So
a lot of rocket
what are you,
scientists.
what are you thinking, I guess?
I'll just have to write it up for FEMA.
Is there any way, like those cement culverts, of hooking one side to the other and
It's supposed to be.
some sort of cable thing or whatever to tie them all together?
There's supposed to be a hole
Yeah.
molded into each
Yep.
section. And then there's like a,
Chain, like a chain link.
but it's like
Okay.
a rebar.
Yep.
Just fits down into those holes, to keep it together.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll just carry on. I'll try to run this other concrete thing through FEMA too. FEMA's not coming out. They want pictures. They want to do it all virtually. So,
If you gotta take pictures of the same culvert,
you're not
move it a little
pictures.
bit.
Pictures, you can't have a picture of the bottom because that might be rusted out.
Yeah, yeah.
Wayne at the township's been getting in touch with you.
I've had 4 townships that have gotten in touch with me.
I spoke with all of them, That day that we talked, I went through all of them, and spoke with all the townships about getting stuff off to you, so they all are aware of it.
I think some of the ones I've talked to are looking for
Well, the
was
dust was blowing right there.
that other funding. Funding that you're, might get 100% for.
South
I don't know.
of Silver Cooper and all.
And your numbers, I didn't have rocks.
I'm still probably gonna visit with those DOT guys to see if they'll still participate
Okay.
in it with like this.
Yeah, I mean, on an
They probably
emergency,
won't.
on an emergency basis, we gotta get, it's gotta get, the road's gotta get fixed.
Yeah.
And we'll have to deal with whatever water consequences are after that.
I think if we, it's be like that County Road 8, if we take the funding for the emergency,
Right.
then you've gotta go along
Same
with
thing.
the alternate, permanent plan.
Yeah.
Ryan, what else do I have? Oh, I got more stuff. Samantha, are you happy yet?
Your time's up, I'm sorry.
Construction conference, we're gonna have a pre-construction conference the 24th, I think it is. With the engineer, yep, May 26th, 9 AM. That's virtually too. Zoom.
When are they thinking of starting that chip seal?
They haven't decided yet. He called me today and asked if he could haul chips into Binford. And I said, well, there's an 8-ton limit on number 1. So we are allowed to haul into Binford with that same load limit as the state has, 8 tons. You can't go west of Binford.
State was working vigorously yesterday with 2 patrol cars and a pickup.
Oh, goody.
Three patrol cars.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I missed one. You're busy.
Yeah, that's the one that gets you, the one you miss.
Is there, I suppose, well, they could bring in as much as they want if they could go on 200. Is there any chance the state would let them use their site west of the blinking light?
I think there's something piled on that site right now.
There's a little bit of
There's some millings out there.
millings, yeah.
I think they'll pile some at Binford, they'll pile some up by Annetta, they'll pile some down there, I think. They don't have as far to haul.
Sure.
Projects started. Okay,
Anything else for us, Wayne?
kind of done.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thanks, Wayne.
Welcome.
You're gonna get a call when you want to.
Yeah.
Beer and liquor license.
Thank you.
You guys.
So Wendy Thompson at the Sutton Pub would like another 6 months of liquor license.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mark to approve, is it a liquor and a beer license?
Yep.
Liquor and beer license for Wendy Thompson operating as the Sutton Pub.
I will second.
Seconded by Stephanie. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries. Human Services Zone Plan.
I got my blue fixed,
Oh,
so now you guys are able to read it.
Oh, they didn't change it though?
no. Can we table it for next time, Jim? Make a motion to table it right now. Okay.
Motion by Scott to table Human Services Zone Plan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, you know what we want, we just
Yeah.
want the
I
two
have,
match.
I need, the
Yeah.
new girl started now and I don't.
Just get whatever we're gonna be charged, make sure that's what we get refunded.
I'll get up there, I just haven't,
Okay.
I just haven't had time lately.
We're good.
Okay.
Why don't you write that down, exactly what you want, John, out of that deal?
Yeah.
So that we don't mix it up again
Yeah.
or whatever.
Okay.
It's just so that whatever we
Yes.
Thank
are
you.
assessed, that's what we're refunded.
Yeah.
Right now, there's no binding that together.
Yep.
You can even text it to them. You'll have the words then.
Let me look at it. Okay.
Okay, we're in the middle of any discussion.
That's what we're doing, is discussion.
Yeah, well, not the same thing.
Oh, well, that could be a problem.
Okay.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. As for the tabling our human services plan. County policies.
So these are just the policies that the state auditor's office would like you guys to adopt. Again,
I can't remember why we kicked that can down the road.
Mark,
you guys weren't really sure if you wanted them.
Page should we start on?
Did you review, is this how you currently run your office? Because you can adapt these policies. What they want is for you to have a policy, something written
Yeah.
how you run your office.
Yep.
So if somebody steps into your position, they have the policies there to run it, whatever. So the goal is to adapt these policies according to how you run it, so that it's for you.
I think Jamie explained it best. The policies that we have for price controls are tried and true within the whole process of us looking and approving the bills. It's happened since the county's been here. So they're trying to reinvent the wheel. We have policies against all these, to guard against all these things. They're just not these policies.
Where are they?
Really, we're following the state law.
Right.
We're requiring,
Right.
requiring the requirements of the commission and any board. You can't pay a bill without the board okay.
Right.
So that
Yep.
sort of thing.
So it's, it just makes it more complicated for no reason. We haven't had a problem with fraud. We won't have a problem with fraud. We have ultimate control over this thing. It just seems to me it's more work.
It's just paper. We already are doing it. It's just that we're putting it on paper saying that we're doing it.
And herein lies the problem. It's not us requesting this, and we are the ultimate authority in this. So we're doing paperwork for somebody that doesn't have any control over telling us what paperwork we have to do. Is how I look at it.
How about this? I'll make a motion to accept the policies. And if it dies, it dies. Then we can move on from it. And if it,
That wasn't exuding a lot of confidence.
it's like, I'll make a motion to accept it.
But they're accounting policies. They're not policies that concerning the governance of the county.
Right.
Yep.
They're
I'll
things
second.
to make
Thank you.
accountants happy.
You're right.
It's just
Exactly.
using generally accepted accounting practices for government entities.
On a piece of paper saying that we're following it. Just in case somebody doesn't know it. It's there.
Motion by Stephanie to approve the capital asset policies for Griggs County. Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any additional discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay.
Motion
Now we moved
fails.
on.
Now we're done.
You
One,
solved our problem for us, thank you.
Yes.
Oof.
Excellent.
4 nays.
And Samantha's happier than anybody. I don't know that.
I'm good with whatever.
Well, you know, we've got a binder saying these are our policies. They are actually what's just, you don't run your business any more different than it is. It's just saying that we know what they are.
It's not broken, let's not fix it.
Sometimes the scheme
Okay.
doesn't get as much out of it as you do that.
Treasurer appointment.
I do have Connie coming in for this. But I would like you guys to do an appointment of the treasurer's position at the end of June or starting July 1st. That way then I can start looking for a deputy on the end of June, starting July 1st. Connie's no longer able to write checks, and we do need 2 people on the checks, on the bank statements and everything like that. So
Since Maddie is already the woman that's actually
she's running unopposed.
you would like us to appoint Maddie
That's
effective when?
July 1st.
You
Okay.
know, what I've learned is that I have no idea what the electorate is gonna do. And, so I think, my opinion is let's just wait and see how the vote goes, and then we'll go from there.
But the vote's not till when?
June.
June.
June 14th.
Primary's in June, so you wanna wait till June, but Connie will already be gone.
Dawn by then.
And
She don't
then-
leave till the end of June. She lives the 1st of July.
Correct.
So you wanna do
And-
this,
And this is like the second Tuesday of June,
Yep. So June 14th.
and we meet in the
You want it-
25th, or whatever.
you wanna do this June, when is our meetings in June? The 9th and the 23rd?
9th and the 23rd. Yep. So you guys would then
I
appoint
am cool with it, I'm
her
cool with it now.
on the 23rd. The only thing is that if you wait till then, I can't do anything for trying to find a new deputy. I can't start advertising for anything, even with a start date of July 1st. After that, I do have a little bit of a break for in between one election to the next, but we're then busy with budget or all those other things.
So when would you like Maddie to be appointed? What date?
The beginning of July 1st, if she's appointed, then she goes, because then I can start looking for a deputy and then just say the effect or your start date would be July 1st.
Okay, I will make a motion to appoint Maddie to treasurer effective July 1st.
Is that all we needed, or do we need something to change the
To what?
bank accounts to?
To end my term,
Okay,
July 1st through April 30th,
to finish her term, July 1st to
April 23rd, April 30th,
April-
2023.
April 2023.
I have a motion by Stephanie to appoint Madison Walls to fulfill the term of treasurer starting July 1st through April 20th, 2023. Does that sound about
April
right?
30th,
April 30th.
30th,
Nice.
31st, whatever the last day of April.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second
Seconded by Scott. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, so what happened to the assistant treasurer? The deputy, isn't that the logical person? She's trained in the position.
it.
Connie?
Connie?
She decided, the morning after we met with you, she decided she was not gonna put in her petition. She loves what she's doing. She really enjoys doing the 4-H and extension, and she just didn't want to.
Fill in for you
to-
from,
To take on, yeah,
But
okay,
especially with fair right after, July 1st.
so there's, okay. But I mean, the hypothetical is that position might not be around after budget time. What happens if that position is, because of budget concerns, is phased out? And now, all of a sudden, her job is completely gone. And by doing this, we have put her out in the cold.
Connie.
Isn't anyone's job in jeopardy at that point? Not the elected officials, but I mean, everybody's is.
Correct.
Everyone is aware of that at budget time.
Yeah, I know, but she's already trained in the position. So we're gonna put someone in a position untrained when we have someone that's already been trained for the position. to fill out the rest of your term. That's the purpose of having a deputy, correct?
It is, but she's only part-time. She's only 12 and a half hours a week. So, yes, she is trained in a lot of it. She can help Maddie when I'm not around to help her, and she doesn't want the job, so I don't know why you'd want to appoint her.
But what
that's
happens
her
if,
position.
what happens if come the end of the year, there's no job?
Well, then she's done.
Okay, as long as, I just wanna make it really, I don't know if that'll happen, but that's something that needs to be discussed.
That's kind of the risk that
Well,
she
that's
had
every
being there,
deputy's
whether
risk. That's every
she,
Whether she was appointed or not.
Well, no, not really.
Because if she's not gonna be elected
But-
in November, then she's still,
Then she'd only have the job till the end of April, and then she'd be without a job then.
Well, maybe I'm missing something. So if she was the deputy assistant treasurer, she would be until the end of the year, at which time we would know if that position was gonna be
is your intent
continued,
to?
and then she could move over and possibly apply for the assistant to the auditor. If we go ahead and hire someone else now, that possibility isn't there anymore, because there is no position left. I don't know if that's right or not. I'm just saying that is a possibility.
Is your intent to try to change the position? I don't know where you're going.
It's always been considered that those positions go away. For
The
budgetary-
deputies?
For budget, those, no, well, it's a third. For budgetary reasons. That's always been looked at.
And just have,
Yeah.
one full-time deputy to cover,
Whatever, I mean.
Whatever.
We haven't gone through.
but we're talking about her position, not the deputy position. So if Maddie takes the deputy position, we're worried about your assistant. If that position goes away, she'd be done working.
Right. I'm just bringing it up, because if we hire someone else, then we're gonna hire someone else, and then there isn't an opening come the first of the year.
You're talking about if Maddie doesn't get the position, Maddie's position will be filled, and she wouldn't be a deputy to.
Yeah, if Maddie stayed in the position she's in right now,
Yep,
and the deputy took over the treasurer's position,
yep,
come the end of the year, if the deputy treasurer's position wasn't there, Maddie would move into the treasurer's position, and conceivably, the deputy treasurer could go to work for Samantha. It would be seamless, there wouldn't be hiring or firing anybody, it would be just a change of positions.
mhm.
There's also the possibility Maddie wouldn't win the election. There could be a write-in and somebody else wins, and then Maddie's without a job.
That's why I say that.
It's
you know,
all.
I think that's what Mark said, leave
Instead
it
of
the way it
appointing
is.
somebody, you know, if you appoint somebody,
Yeah.
yeah.
it's pretty
But-
difficult to cover all the scenarios and.
Yeah.
I was gonna say is, yeah, we're kind of,
Let the
we're going
electorate
like,
decide.
Yeah.
It's just better to make a decision now so that we can get all the banking stuff changed in time, and Sam can find help, and if it's Maddie that you appoint.
and if they decide to put the two positions together, have one deputy go between two offices, I mean, that's something that your gal could possibly say, hey, Sam, in the meeting, I'll help you both out or something. You know, I mean, she could do that now, even though it's a instead of working 12 hours a week, she could work 24 and help out both offices. I mean, it's just kind of, there's so many options in
So
there.
then we're back to where we were last meeting with the hiring freeze.
So, but,
So
anyways, it's a motion.
Does the deputy have the ability to sign, of course, we can give her the ability, that isn't a big deal, right? We can authorize,
I mean, the deputy falls in the place of the treasurer, so she should be able to have the ability to sign.
so unless she's not planning on staying around.
And this is what you guys would prefer. You've
Yeah.
discussed this with Maddie and you and
Jessica,
and
yeah.
Jessica. You guys have all this game plan, and
Yeah.
I support your game plan. Yep.
Do you need a civics lesson?
It's just kind of,
Elected officials aren't appointed, they are elected. And that is the whole purpose of it. The retiring midstream and trying to appoint your successor is not the way this is supposed to work.
And I'm not trying to appoint my successor. You
Okay.
guys are considering who to appoint.
Yeah. But anyway, and again, elected officials are elected, not appointed. So,
Can we proceed to vote?
yep.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. Senior citizens budget.
So I went to the senior citizens meeting and the conduit for the vans and hauling all the people to their doctor's appointments and the meals is all run through the senior citizens with the help of the state. So the state, the transportation and.
So central.
Yes, and the senior citizens are responsible for a portion of both those programs. Well, you can imagine what's going on with both those programs are completely underfunded. So for next year, just the senior citizens budgeted portion of the meals and the van, the ride share, is short about 21,000. It's short more than that this year, that's for next year, and there's no sign of it getting fixed the following year because the legislature won't be in place. So, to cover the shortfall would take about $60,000. The money qualifies, I believe, from the COVID funds that we got. This is directly related to COVID. It costs fuel to go up because it caused the labor problems. Everything that they're experiencing is because of the COVID. We've got, 218 and getting 122 more.
Didn't we give them 30,000 last year too, John?
No, we give it.
And that's still in the account, that was
Okay.
for the facilities, they have to upgrade,
Okay.
and they haven't been able to
Okay,
get anybody to do the heating and cooling, so they need the air filtration.
okay.
I thought we gave them 30,000 just to cover for the expenses that they've had, their losses last year, didn't we?
No, that wasn't budget, that was for to upgrade the facilities, the furnaces, the
Oh, okay.
air filtration part of it. That's still sitting in an account, they haven't touched that.
Okay.
Okay.
That was earmarked for
For that.
infrastructure.
Oh.
There's three different facilities. Sutton, Midford,
Midford,
yeah,
yeah.
and so it was 10,000 apiece.
Okay.
This would be to cover the cost of fuel. The big cost has been, they've put a lot more miles on because of some of the limitations of, they can't haul as many people in the bus because they have to separate them.
Hey,
Yeah.
6 feet. Mm-hmm.
The cost of bringing the food from Valley City up here and the cost of the food itself. They're gonna try to make some concessions and try to consolidate it, but there just doesn't seem to be much to do other than try to, and the state, in their wisdom, is cutting the monies for next year that they're gonna get.
You know, we've always felt that, like the Meals on Wheels and the rides for the people. I mean, if we can help these folks as much as we can, you know, better chance we're gonna keep them out of the nursing home for a while. Get them good nutrition meals
And Stephanie can probably speak to this better than any of us, but isolation isn't a good deal for them.
No.
And so even if it's only once a day, that they get somebody coming to see them, or they get a ride, or whatever it might be, so.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
I don't think this isn't gonna come out of budgeted taxpayer money, this is money that we have sitting there, and I think it's a pretty good intended. Well, up to you guys.
Well, even if they feel that it is taxpayer money, I think it's a just cause.
I think it's very well used.
Right now, we have 339,000, 398,000 in the COVID funds, but that is not reflective of the COVID funds that we used for the budget last year of 122,725. So then that would bring that down to about 2,000 or 200,000.
Okay.
So you want-
And we still have another half of
I think it's 216,000 this comes.
Do we need a motion? How much did you need?
60.
Why don't you make that motion, John?
Yeah, you make that motion. That's on you, man. I want to hear you say the money.
I do have a question for Sam. It is a permissible use for that money, right?
It's not.
I'm not a lawyer.
The first part of it came without any conditions, it was just towards full. But I mean, if
Does the
this isn't a
second-
use for it, then there is no use for it.
Yeah,
Right.
It's just for 1 year, or you think
just to
it'll
fix
cover
it
for
3
1
years.
3 years will fix it.
This should cover the shortfall
For-
that's expected. The shortfall this year is kind of hard because all the budgeted money from all the entities gets put together. But it would cover for this year, the budget for next year, and then into the following year until hopefully the state does something with the program and re-ups the funds to it. Which isn't necessarily gonna happen, but
Who knows?
These are the types of expenses that money is aimed to fix. It's down revenue.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And
Revenue loss and services, improved services.
Definitely increased expenses.
Oh, definitely.
so I would make a motion that we allocate $60,000 of the COVID relief money to the senior citizens and direct Sam to send them a check accordingly.
Motion by John to allocate $60,000 to the Griggs County Senior Citizens Program from our COVID relief funds. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any additional discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Dale votes aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is this 2022 budget amendment supposed to be a 2021 budget amendment?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay, so when I was doing up the budget to get that out to all the department heads, there was a discrepancy in the road department when I transferred. You guys had me transferring $924,981.75 from the road department into road special projects, and that was the balance at the end of the year. When I did that, it then put us over or under by 200,000. So I need it to be a budget amendment of transferring $641,154. Then that will make it zero, and then it'll continue down. If that made sense.
So move.
What was the dollar amount again, Sam?
So it was gonna be $924,981.75. We ended the year with $641,154.
And this goes into the special fund, which is what we use to pay our matching costs on these projects.
Yeah.
And it is a special fund, so it's not subject to, we can carry money over there without any penalty. The state had us lump it all together at one time, and that just didn't work out very well. So the money for the chip seal, and if we put a bridge in, that's where this will come from. And that way we have it there, and we can look at it and say, yes, we can spend it, rather than trying to go to the taxpayer to get it.
I'll second.
Motion by Mark to amend the 2021 road special funds budget, seconded by Stephanie. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any additional discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Dale votes aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We have a tax abatement.
that one signed and authorized by the right people, so.
I think so.
That way.
You guys have all the information that I do, so.
So we just motion to approve it?
Was this a homestead or?
Disabled person.
Oh, good, okay.
Mostly correct, senior citizen, which is true. On this one it is.
And remember, these don't decrease the amount of funding in the county, we're reimbursed from the state.
We have a motion.
Yep.
Motion by Stephanie to approve the tax abatement on property 07000002063000.
Okay,
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Scott. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Old courthouse, new courthouse?
I'm sure that's why Jamie has stuck around.
Yeah, you bet. No, I've got nothing.
Did they reply to your follow-up emails or anything? Did
Yeah, they haven't. I don't,
Did they give us a list?
they haven't given us a list yet. And I think, they gave us a letter and I don't think they have responded to the last email, to be honest with you.
You ever been on a merry-go-round, Stephanie? You ever been on a merry-go-round? This is about our 20th trip for August.
It's a little frustrating. It's like, okay, so we've done all this, what's the next
Well,
step?
And to be fair to them, I haven't worked on it at all. I've had too much stuff going on.
Oh.
So I could probably send them.
You're not being aggressive.
No, I haven't been
Okay.
aggressive.
Okay.
Anybody have any future business?
And I don't come to my office daily and say, well, maybe I should email them again. That's not something I put
No.
on my priority list.
Okay.
It's a who's on first type thing. No, he's on second.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'm sure you will.
Be better than
I must.
No, we're done now. Well, one day left.
Motion by Scott to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Stephanie. Is there any discussion?
School's done.
Any discussion? Any discussion?
Maybe a track meet tomorrow, but we'll see.
Barring none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned at 4:22. Next meeting is June 9th at 2:30 in this room.